Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you are all well and you have had a good week. This week we are interviewing Nikki. Nikki is from Vibe Church in Armagh and we're just going to ask her some questions. So Nikki, hello and welcome. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, so good to be with you. Thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, Crossroads Youth, you are rocking it on Instagram right now. Absolutely class, all the stuff that you're putting out online, so keep up the hard work. My name is Nikki Bain and I'm married to Daryl Bain, who is, you all know Kathy Allister. That is her brother. So I'm married to Daryl. I'm Kathy's sister-in-law. And we have three little girls, Jessica, Bethany, and Aria. They're 8, 6, and a year and a half. And we are the pastors of Vibe Church in Armagh. And I'm the worship leader there as well. So that's who I am. That's what I do most of the time. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you for that. Nikki, you're an amazing singer and worship leader. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How did you discover those gifts and what kind of journey did they bring you on?
Okay, that's a bit of a loaded question. Yeah, and thank you for saying that. I definitely don't feel at all like an amazing singer or worship leader at any point. And I'm not saying that to look like I'm humble or anything like that. Seriously, I see so many amazing singers and worship leaders out there and I'm like, Lord, how am I doing this, what I'm doing right now in our church? You know, I'm very blessed to be able to lead worship alongside my brother Aaron and our wonderful team as well. So, you know, I just love what I do. I love leading worship in our church and the worship culture that we're part of, and it's just really, really great. So how did I discover my gifts in singing? Well, when I was just little, when I was a baby, I just grew up singing, probably could sing before I could talk properly, and I would get up on the stage with my mom and dad, who were also singers at that time, and I would just start by getting up on the stage with them, and they gave me opportunities to be able to sing from a young age. And I remember just being in the car on the way to singing bookings with my parents, maybe churches that we were singing at, and starting to harmonize along maybe in the car. And I used to love listening to loads of different type of music, but I mean it was mostly Christian music in our house, and I just grew up singing and loving it. I find that there would be opportunities come my way to be able to sing at different things, and I enjoyed it so much that I would just take those opportunities. I remember when I was 8, 9-year-old, I released my first album, and that was good fun. And then when I got to like 17 years old, I remember there was a guy that came to our church over in Scotland. That's where we lived at the time during my teenage years, and he came to our church. He was called Ian White. He was a singer and still is, and I started doing backing vocals then on his albums after meeting him, and not long after that he offered me a record deal. So that record deal ended up bringing me to lots of different churches, schools, concerts, events all around the UK and Ireland, and went to Spain and different places. So, but it was mostly the UK, and we just had a great time. I travelled around going to different churches. I would share my testimony, I would sing and just share the gospel with people, and it was really, really good, a really good time. And actually when I was doing my touring with that, then I met Daryl at a concert in Market Hill of all places. So he was there and I signed his little poster and signed his CD and everything, and then not long after that we actually started dating because we kept in touch. So that was the perk of signing a record deal and going around churches singing, but that was good fun. So that is kind of part of the journey that brought me up until I was 17, 18, 19, 20. Then after all of that, Daryl and we got engaged, and we were really looking for an opportunity just to serve the Lord and to make a big difference for God right where we were. And so we ended up starting a youth, which was called Vibe Youth. So yeah, so just kept on leading worship through all of that, and that's a bit of the journey anyway, and a few years later now we've planted a church, which is Vibe Church in Armagh, and I continue to sing and worship, and yeah, it's just good fun.
That is some story, and what an incredible journey you've been on. With all that experience, you're bound to have some advice to share with worship leaders starting out. Can you share any of that now?
Well, if you are kind of starting off as a worship leader, you probably haven't grown up, if you're anything like me, you haven't grown up saying, you know, I really want to be a worship leader. Oh, I just want to get those opportunities to do that. Most likely God has put you in the place to have those opportunities, and you are like, I don't want to do it, you know, and then maybe there's a little niggle in you that you're like, but I feel called to do it. Or, you know what, I really do want to do it, but I just don't feel strong enough, or I just don't feel ready enough, and things like that. And look, the advice that I would give anybody out there who, you know, is starting off with leading worship, or finding that they have the opportunities to do that, is that we need to keep the main thing. And I would encourage you to do that, and that is to be a Jesus follower, Jesus worshipper, lover of God, and worship him in your own home, worship him in everything that you do. Worship him if it's in your bedroom. Worship him by serving other people around you, whether it's your parents, your grandparents. What are the gifts that God has given you apart from your singing or your playing? You know, how can you serve him? How can you be faithful to him in the small things? And, you know, I believe that whenever you're faithful in the small things, that God will definitely trust you with the bigger things. So yeah, keep the main thing. Worship God in those secret times, and it's those times that will give you the authority in the future to be able to lead a whole room of people in worship. What do I mean by that? Well, you are going to discover more about who God is, and it will mean that whenever you are leading people in worship, that you're not just on that journey at the same time as everybody else. You've already been on a journey. You've already done the hard work. You've already spent your time practicing your instrument. You've already spent your time really seeking God, and being intimate with God, like, you know, really knowing what it is to hear his voice. So when you're up on the platform, on the stage, leading worship, then a lot of the time, in a very kind of small moment, you might just have to hear God's voice, to hear, right, God, where are you going to take this? Where do you want to take your people right now? And it's only through spending the time one-on-one with God that you're going to know what God's voice sounds like. So I just encourage you to just put in the hard work now. You know, we're on lockdown, and that means that there's more time than ever to be able to spend time with God and putting in your earphones, just getting lost in worship, and serving other people around you. So do those things, you'll be good.
Thank you, Nikki. That was some really good advice. You're not only a worship leader, but you're a pastor. Can you tell us a little bit about your call to ministry?
I think that my story is a little bit different than what other people's are. I suppose all our stories are unique, aren't they? But I grew up in ministry. So I grew up serving God with my gifts from, you know, just 2 or 3 year old, and so I always knew what it was to be in ministry. So I was like just then looking for the next thing, and for what God was going to do next, and where he was going to call me to next, and what he was going to ask me to do next. But that didn't look like a huge light bulb moment at any stage. What it looked like was that in my life I would see opportunities that God was putting in front of me, things that were scary, things that took a lot of guts to be able to say yes to God with, and other things that it was just about serving him faithfully. So, you know, growing up in church and in youth, I would be like signing up to every team. You know, I would be just having good fun and dreaming and serving God wherever I could. Then I remember when I met Daryl, then we were really looking for an opportunity to be able to serve God, and we felt a call on our lives. That just meant that he was like, I remember us having a conversation where Daryl was just like, you know, I feel like I'm created for more than what I'm just doing right now. And I was like, I know, me too, because I had really experienced like amazing times with God. We had an amazing youth group over in Scotland. It was absolutely huge, and there was just class events going on. I remember God coming and doing amazing things, and so many people getting saved, and they were just such great days. And I remember then I would be just going, you know, in the time after that, I remember just knowing that God could do more if only we would dare to dream big enough. And Daryl and I had this conversation when we were going out, but then definitely when we were engaged, and we were just like, you know, I wonder what God could do with us. You know, I wonder if we just make ourselves available, what God could do with us. And so Daryl was part of a small church which was called Lisnadil Full Gospel Church, and it's a great church, and it's just outside Armagh. And he was part of that, and we saw an opportunity to really start something there, start a youth group there, because there was a lot of young people that were going along there. But they didn't know each other that well, a lot of them. So we just said, right, well, why don't we start something there? Just let's start meeting up, hanging out, you know, doing a lot of what you guys do in Crossroads. And so we started doing that, and more people were coming, more and more people were getting saved. And, you know, long story short, my call to ministry has been very much so about me saying yes to God where I was at, saying, God, I want you to use me. God, I want to do this, I want to do that, and giving him my hopes and dreams. Or was he giving me them in my heart? I don't know. But I remember just giving him all my hopes, all my dreams, all my plans over and over and over again. And then, you know, just amazing things would happen. So we started a youth group. Lots of people came. And then I remember all the way through, there would be times when I would have to make big decisions for God, and I wouldn't know where to turn, I wouldn't know what to do, I would need some direction. And at those times and all the way through, I made myself available for prayer and ministry. And anytime that anybody came to our church to be able, and you know, they were asking for anyone to pray for or things like that, if anybody needed prayer, then I would be straight up to the front. Like I would, you know, they'd be laying hands on me, praying for me, and I would get, most of the time I would get a word from God, and it might be a prophetic word, a directional word from God. Sometimes he would say, you know, you're right where I want you to be. And other times he would say things like, you know, I like the person that would be praying for me would say something like, I see you leading a whole movement. I'm thinking, but we're just meeting up with our friends for Chinese here in church, you know. And then anyway, looking back, I can see how it's been a mixture of following God, using the opportunities that were there in front of me, developing my gifting, saying yes to him even whenever it was hard, and then also at the hard times when I needed to make hard decisions that I didn't know really what way to turn, then I would really seek God. And he would either speak to me through his word, he would speak to me through other people, maybe people who would prophesy, people that would share an encouraging word. Maybe somebody would phone me up and say, I was just praying for you and this is what I felt. And there was little moments like that all the way through. Not many, but definitely key significant ones. And then there was also even more so times when I would be praying and I would just hear a still small voice of God saying, you know, I'm with you, and giving me a peace about going a certain way. So it was really a mixture of a bit of all of that that has got me to the place that we're at now, leading and pastoring a church. As far as my call to ministry, as far as a worship leader, I constantly feel God calling me to speak more, to preach more. I constantly feel God and hear God calling me to step out for him more and to share my faith more with people. And we're all in ministry. If you're a Christian, then you are in ministry, even today. But the question is, what can you do for God today? So give him your day, give him your everything, and watch how he leads you, watch how he guides you, and he will, I promise that.
That's another amazing story and journey you've been on. Now, our last question. If you could tell teenage Nikki anything, what would it be, especially in regards to her faith journey?
Well, I love this question, and when I heard this question there, I just thought of like Star Wars. I've been watching Star Wars over the last couple of nights since May the 4th be with you. So and there's like moments where old Jedis from the past like appear and give these wonderful words of wisdom that like save people's lives and stuff. So I thought, right, what would that be like if I just turned up to my old self, my old teenage self, and just give her these wonderful words of wisdom? And when I think of some of the things that I said and did, I am absolutely appalled. So I would probably turn up at my worst moments and just say, don't do that. Don't do that. See what you're about to do. See that thing that you're about to say. Don't do that. But no, joking aside, well, that's no joke, but like, yeah, some serious stuff here. When I think of like certain moments, there was a moment where I was at a summer camp, and it was our annual camp that we always went to, and it was absolutely awesome. It was down in, I think, Glasgow or something, and I remember there was a guy there who was like the youth leader, main youth ambassador or director or whatever it was for AOG in England or the UK or whatever. And and I thought, he's bound to be the most spiritual guy that I've ever met. So I decided to share with him this amazing vision that God had given me about how we could reach our whole school for God. And it was a big dream. And I remember thinking, like, this can definitely happen. And, the backstory to this was that really revival had been taking place. A lot of people had been giving their lives to God. There was a lot of people in our youth. I remember there would be maybe a couple of hundred people there on a Friday night or Sunday night or whatever it was. And, we had these amazing youth events, and the SU in our school was really growing, and there was just more and more people coming to church and the other churches near us as well. And there was kind of a revival taking place. So I thought, well, why could that not just grow and grow and grow, and our whole school could be one for God, our whole school could be saved. And I remember sharing this vision, this dream with this pastor guy, and him turning around and just saying, yeah, but that could never happen. And I was like, what? What? Inside I was saying that, but outside I was, looking very respectful. And also I was very confused why this person who, was preaching a big God couldn't believe in the big God that I had big dreams about. So I remember just like kind of nodding my head, but feeling my heart sink. And I remember letting that dream die not long after that, probably that very night. And probably I would turn up to my teenage self and I would just tell her, your dreams are big and they're awesome and they're mighty because your God is even bigger. And so anybody listening to this, dream big, and then go even bigger. Have big dreams, have big visions, have the type of dreams, and start dreaming the type of dreams that if God doesn't show up, if God doesn't move and make these things actually happen in reality, then like they just couldn't possibly ever happen. Like the type of dreams that you need God to be in on, you need his miraculous power, you need his provision, you need everything that he can bring to make that type of dream happen. And I'm, on down the line now, a few years older than that, then I have seen God's power, I've seen God's hand, and I've seen him do miraculous things. But I wish I had taken those dreams seriously when I was that age, and not let people put me down because I was young, and not let people say that those dreams couldn't possibly happen. Or maybe it was that I should have been strong enough, or I could have been strong enough to be able to say, you know what, I believe that my God is big and he's mighty and these dreams can happen. So Crossroads Youth, get a big dream, keep dreaming big dreams, and let's see what God is gonna do.
Nikki, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been great to find out a little bit more about you. I'm so encouraged by what you shared, and I'm sure all the guys will be too on Friday night. Take care, and we'll hopefully see you very soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and it's been so good to share some of this stuff with you and go down memory lane as well. Hopefully we'll see each other soon, but keep up the good work. You're doing an awesome job. It's so good, and love you guys. Okay, see ya. Bye.